Hello, my name is Joseph Dowdy, and I'm going to be showing you a little bit today about how to get ranked higher on Google. Google indexes websites to determine the most relevant matches. So, in other words, of the 150 million websites that are out there, there are matches of what is there compared to what it is that people are searching for. So if you type something like the word chiropractic, they're going to say that there are 63,200,000 website results for the word chiropractic. Of course, this is absolutely silly. If you think about it, how could nearly half the websites be any sort of a match for the word chiropractic? Let's see what happens if we try to get a little more specific. So if we were to do a search for Raleigh chiropractic, then you'd have about 1.5 million results. And if you were to try to do a search for Raleigh chiropractor, then you'd have 1 million results. So as you can tell, these numbers really don't mean as much as they could. It would be really great if Google actually told you how many websites really do match these specific search terms, because then you can have an idea of who you're really competing against. Obviously, if you were to open up the Yellow Pages or drive around Raleigh, you'd probably find out that there's a handful of chiropractors, and probably all of them have websites. But the truth is that this should really only be maybe 100 or 1,000 at the most, or maybe even 2,000 results. But for some reason they say that there are much higher search results than that. Now, here's something interesting. If you were to type something a little more specific, like Raleigh chiropractor Tom Ayers, it says that the number of results actually goes up. And you would think that the more specific that you get, the better, and you would get smaller number of results, but that's not really the truth. What they do is they basically combine these search terms all for their separate values. So it's kind of a funky way of telling you what kind of results that you get whenever you type these terms, but that's just kind of how Google does it, and it'd be really great if they were a little more transparent in how they do things. However, they are not, and there's an entire industry built around trying to figure out how it is that Google actually figures out what is a match. So Google actually measures something called user experience as a way to determine which results show up at the top, and they use several factors. As a matter of fact, it's not known exactly how many factors there are, but there are a lot of people who are in the business that say there's over 200 of them. So some good basic indicators for whether a website should be ranked higher is that the user visits several pages of your site. So let's say they go to your home page and they click around on your site. That's really good. That's what Google considers to be good. Now, Google is measuring how many times you click around on a site after they send you there. They also measure how long you spend on each page. So they judge the value of the page by how much time it is that somebody spends on that page. So if you don't have very much text, somebody is not going to spend a lot of time reading it. If you have a video that's long, it's going to really increase the amount of time that people spend on a page whenever they visit your site. So each one of these things are really good, and what Google considers really good for people who are visiting your site. If you had people typing in a specific search term, then Google measures how long they spend on that page, and they also measure how many times somebody clicks around on that site. So Google actually measures what they consider to be natural, or also called organic, success factors as well, such as how many people have linked to your site. And these are really the most important things that Google measures. Now, there's plenty of other important things, but you don't have that much control over these, and that's why Google places such an important emphasis on these. You don't really control how many pages that people visit, or how much time they spend, or how many people link to your site, but you can work to increase these things, and as you work to increase these things, Google will raise your rankings on Google. So that's, in a nutshell, that is the entire purpose of this presentation. Now, here are some things that are bad that you don't have control over. If somebody types a search in Google, a keyword, and they go to your site and they realize, oh, this isn't what I was looking for, and they click back in their browser, they click that back button in their browser, that's bad. That actually is something that Google looks for, and they will lower you in the search page rankings if that's the case. If someone searches for the same term again after visiting your site, that also counts against you. So you want to make sure that your site and your page are actually relevant to what it is that people are typing. And also, too, another thing that's bad is trying to fake those things that Google looks for to determine if your site is a success. So, for example, putting a bunch of links on a website that is devoted to just links, which are called link farms, that's bad. When Google finds out that you're doing that, they can do things to your site like remove you from their index completely, and that's called a Google slap if they do that to you. So that's something you absolutely want to avoid. Don't try to fake your success. Just go with what is natural, and that means gradually building your site over time with good quality pages and lots of really good content that people have an easy time finding and clicking around on your site. Again, there are over 200 of these different factors that Google is looking for, which they consider to be natural success characteristics or factors. So there's, like I said, there's over 200 of them. One example of them is that the Google will actually check to see how long you have registered your domain name for. So there are plenty of websites that are out there that are just link farms, and these are sites that are kind of like fly by night. They're dummy sites. There's no real content on them, and you can't really. If you were somebody who had these fake link sites, why would you invest a bunch of money in having like 10 years worth of domain name? So the people don't, and so Google knows that if there's any sites out there that are linking to your site and they are only registered for 1 year, well then they don't really consider that to be as useful. Also, Google treats sites that have a lot of traffic as better when they link to you than sites that don't have a lot of traffic. So again, they're measuring natural success, and how they do that is they take a look at, okay, how many people are linking to your site, how much time are people spending there, and are they clicking around? That's what they're measuring. So I'm now going to start looking at this from the matter of what people are searching for. So I'm going to call these search factors, and this also ties into search engine optimization, which is called SEO, and we'll get into that a little bit more too. So the most important factors that you have control over, well, you don't have control over necessarily the number of links to your site, although you can influence it. But the most important search factors are links to your site, good SEO, and this is something that you have control over, more links to your site, site administration, which means no errors, no 404s or 500s or those sort of errors. When somebody clicks on a link that Google has, that they have indexed your site, and they click and they get an error, that's something that Google really does not like, and they will remove your link and give you a lower ranking. And oh yeah, more links to your site. The links to your site is really the most important thing that you can that Google considers to be important, and also that you can influence. So not all links are created equal. This basically means that if you have a website that gets a lot of traffic, let's say time.com or newyorktimes.com or losangelestimes.com, and they link to your site, then this is something that's going to give you a huge boost in terms of your page rank. Those sites, because they have so much traffic, are considered to be respectable sources, and if they link to you, then they don't consider it to be an accident that you're linked. And so they treat that to be something that's really fantastic. And as you can see from this graphic here, this PageRank graphic, the number of links that you have, like for example these green smiley faces, the number of links that you have can boost you, but having a site that has a lot of traffic, just one link from a site with a lot of traffic, will give you a big boost also. So there's like a balance between the number of links that you have to your site against the high value links, in other words the ones that get the most traffic. So that's something that's really important to consider. And by the way, Google uses something like the Alexa search rankings to figure out which sites get the most traffic. And so they have their own way of determining how much of a demand there is for a site. And that's what they use to determine this PageRank. So how do you get links to your site? There are a number of different ways to do this. One is to invite people to do that. So let's say that you have a customer who has a blog. You know, getting a review of your company or of your business or of you or whatever it is that you provide is the best way to do it. And there's a certain way that they should actually link to your site, and that is whatever words that they use to highlight to create a hot link to your site, that's basically a keyword. So if you want somebody to link to your site and your business is Raleigh Chiropractic, then what you want to do is you want to have them actually select the words Raleigh Chiropractic and use those words as the link to your site. That's the best way to do it. There really isn't anything that can substitute for a natural link that uses a good keyword. You can also trade links. So let's say, for example, that you have there's another business that you know that's maybe they're a supplier, or maybe they're just a family member or something. Who knows? It doesn't really matter. You can actually put a link to their site, and they can put a link to your site. You both win. So that's really a great way of doing it. There's actually sites that have individual pages where they link to somebody else. That's really the best way to do it, like a review. So another way of doing this, getting links to your site, is to buy them. One really good source for this is an index directory company like Yext. What Yext will do for a small fee, about $10 a month or so, is they will take all the information that you provide for them about your website or your business, and they will put it on dozens and dozens of other indexes for businesses. Like for example, they'll put it on the Yellow Pages and those sorts of sites. So they'll put your information on Yelp, they'll put it on City Search, they'll put it on White Pages, they'll put it on MapQuest, Superpages.com, they'll put it on Yahoo Pages for business. They'll put it on any number of these, which are really good, and it would take you a lot of time to personally go in and update all these. But they will do that for you for a small fee, and they'll actually keep them updated. And so that's a really good deal if you value your time. I mean, for $10 a month, certainly if you consider your time to be worth $65 an hour, it's a really good deal. So another way that you can get your links on other people's sites is to make it easy. Use social media. So whenever you write a blog post or something like that, hopefully it's set up to automatically post on Facebook and Twitter and other sites like that. These are really great, easy, free links. On your Facebook, you need to make sure that your Facebook security settings are set so that people can find you easily. So you can set your privacy to be very high on Facebook, but that will keep Google from being able to index you if you do it that way. So make sure that your privacy is open so that Google can find you. Also, too, the same thing goes for all the other social media platforms out there, such as LinkedIn, etc. If you're on LinkedIn and you have a business page, it'll be pretty easy for people to find you that way on Google, and that's exactly the kind of thing that you want to do. And again, make it easy. Automatically post on other social media from your blog, which is something that if you have a company like mine, electronicwordofmouth.com, setting up your blog, they'll set it up so that whenever you make a blog post, boom, it will automatically go to one of these social media platforms that you use. And you should be using as many of them as you feel comfortable maintaining. And you should also have some buttons that allow people to easily share your pages on their social networks as well. You need to also try to put your link everywhere. So if your website is a particular name, whenever you go and you visit different websites, make sure that you leave your link somewhere. So let's say, for example, the best way to do it, I think, is if you have an opportunity to be a guest blogger on somebody else's blog. So let's say there's a company that gets a lot of traffic because they have a lot of people coming to their website for advice on health. And if you're a chiropractor, then what you could do is write, your own take on a particular thing about chiropractic that people might be interested in reading. And so if you get the opportunity to then post your article on this site, make sure that you put your link there, because that traffic that site has will give you a big boost to your traffic on your site for PageRank. It's really one of the best. I mean, it's one thing to have a link that somebody else makes on their site to yours, but if you can get your link on a highly trafficked site and you set it up as a proper link with the keyword that you want, that's like the very best thing that you can do. So the other thing is to make sure that you have a Facebook page and a Google Plus page and a LinkedIn business page for your company. And like I mentioned before, Yext will do that for you on a lot of the online directories, but not necessarily the social media directories. These are going to be up to you to set up, maintain, and also to use. Really that's the best thing is, find some way to make sure that you actually use these sites. You only really need to use these social media sites like once a week. You should be blogging at least once a week, and then you can log into these different social media sites like Facebook and Google Plus and LinkedIn, etc. once a week, and interact with people, share something that somebody else has, retweet a tweet, share something from Google Plus, participate in discussions on LinkedIn, etc. Also, getting your site on a review site is a really great way to do it. Now, as I mentioned, Yext will do this for you for a few companies like Yelp and I think ePinions. But make sure that you are listed on these. Do a search yourself. If Yext doesn't cover it, make sure that you get yourself listed. And a lot of times, these companies, like for example with Yelp, will let you as a business do your listing for free, but you can't really. They will know if you are actually sending people to Yelp to do reviews because they have some sort of a monitoring system to see if you're faking the reviews. So just be careful about that. Let people do it on their own. You just have to make sure that people give you the kind of reviews that they would naturally give, because Yelp is very funny about that sort of thing, which I've personally experienced that. I've seen them remove good reviews just because they thought they were suspicious. So you have to be careful about that. As I mentioned before, write articles as a subject matter expert. If you can write as a guest blogger, that's really great. If you can write an article as a subject matter expert on major newspaper sites, like for example LA Times, New York Times, and you can get a link in there, that's really even better. I mean, it's the best type of link that you can get. And so if you can get yourself on a big publication site, that's really awesome. What you can do is you can spend a little bit of money on some paid ads. I have personally seen this. Now, I know that Google says that if you pay for ads on Google AdWords, that it's not supposed to impact your Google PageRank. I've seen it happen. And most interestingly, the way that I've seen it happen the biggest, with the biggest leap, and by biggest leap I mean like a good 5 or 10% increase in organic search, is by paying for ads on Bing Yahoo, because they have a paid advertising platform as well. You know, I can't promise you any particular numbers, but I can tell you that I have seen it happen where it was like night and day. It's like suddenly, boom, there was a marked increase in organic traffic to a site. And so that is something that, because of the paid ad, there was a link that was placed on some very high traffic websites, and that really helped. So what we want to talk about next is search engine optimization techniques. So basically things that you can do on your site as you are creating content. So good SEO means that you are following techniques that help you get better page rank, and they have to do with keywords and how you use those keywords on your site. So many of the things that you'd never consider, Google is always testing and improving based on the user experience. And what they mean by user experience is those measures that I was talking about before. How long they spend on a page, how many different pages that they visit on your site, and whether or not they don't click back or they don't search again for what it is that you consider to be your keyword. And there's always other things that they're looking for as well, like I mentioned, the length of a domain name purchase, etc. Those are things that Google is testing, measuring, and always looking for. Now, it's super important that you not try to game the system, because, as I mentioned before, it will get you Google slapped. So don't try to fake anything. You know, don't pay SEO companies who use black hat techniques to get you ranked higher. That's just a disaster waiting to happen. Now, there are good companies that do good SEO, but they should all be doing the things that you can do yourself, or that you can pay somebody. You know, you don't have to pay somebody a lot of money to do these things. These are not real rocket science. Believe it or not, the most work that goes into good SEO is stuff that would be done each time whenever you make a blog post, and I'll talk about that. So good SEO is just the use of a smart use of keywords. So as I mentioned, when somebody types something into Google to find you, then that would be considered to be really the best type of keyword. Now, not everybody types the same thing to get to your site, but the most common terms that people use to find your site, such as Raleigh Chiropractic, well, that should be a good keyword for you to use, and to try to make sure that you have a page that has that keyword if you feel that that's really the best way that people will try to find you. Good SEO largely means using a tool instead of trying to do it manually, which is easy to use and gives you a lot of control. So I'm going to give you an example of that here. You can pay for these types of software programs or plugins, but it's just fine if you use something that's free, like WordPress SEO by Yoast, and I'm going to show you how that works. Okay, so here is a post that I have here. This is a post where I am actually showing people my hosting service, and I made a little graphic here, and I've got my blog title here, which is Get a WordPress Blog. And what I want to do is I want to try to make a keyword on here for WordPress hosting. Now, after I started doing this, I kind of realized I probably need to make a different blog title, a blog entry for affordable WordPress hosting is really what I should have done. But I'm going to go ahead and do one for WordPress hosting here. Now, this tool here, as you see, WordPress SEO by Yoast, allows me to do this very easily. And I'm going to try to make this a little bigger so you can see it. Okay, so WordPress hosting. That's going to be my keyword. Now, this tool offers different suggestions for me, so that rather than just using WordPress hosting, I may want to use something more specific, such as WordPress hosting sites, WordPress hosting versus self-hosting, WordPress hosting for Bluehost, WordPress hosting options, etc. So these are nice little, nice little tool here in this plugin that allows me to consider different keywords that might be more useful. So after having typed in this particular keyword, now what's going to happen is that this will allow me to start building. I'm going to click update. It'll allow me to start building a really well optimized site. So I'm going to show you how that works. Now that I've saved that, it's going to tell me where my keyword was found. So there are specific places within the blog, this particular entry, that I need to make sure that it's there. So for example, it's not in the article heading. It tells me no in red. So I got to change that. So I'm going to put that in the article heading here. So I'm going to change this to Get WordPress Hosting. Scroll down. Ah, yes, it's there now. Okay, is it and the page title as well? It's also there. That's fantastic. And just so you know, this is the header right here. This is the heading, and the title also it should be the same thing. And is it in the content? No, it's not in the content. The content means the body of the text. Is it in there? Okay. So let me see here. I'm going to change what it says here for my PayPal button. I'm going to make sure that that says WordPress hosting instead of WordPress blog. And I can also type it somewhere up here. Let me see what I can do to change that, but I'm going to make sure that that shows up. Okay, it still shows as no. Let me update. I'm going to update my blog and then scroll down and see if it shows it. Yes, it identifies it as being in the content, and you should also have it in the content a few times. Is it in the meta description? No. Now the meta description, just so that you know, is you see this snippet preview. This is basically what you would see on Google if there was a search match for what it is that I offer for WordPress hosting. This is like a snippet preview. So you see here where it says trying to make the best of WordPress by yourself. That's the meta description, and that's right down here. So I can set what it is that Google has here as my snippet. So I'm going to make sure that it has my WordPress hosting keyword inside of this. So let me see, for less than the cost of Media Temple and other WordPress host, you can get your own WordPress hosting right here. Oh, it told me it's a little too long. It's too many characters. So I need to make it just a little short. Okay, you can get, instead of your own, I'll say you can get WordPress hosting right here. There we go. Now, it means I got 7 characters left. I still have a little more space that I can use if I want. And also here I have the opportunity to generate the SEO title. I can click that, and I'm going to change this to just Get WordPress Hosting. So after I've done that, I just need to save, update, and then if I want to, I can get even more specific. So this is the general thing. It covers the most important criteria for making sure that I have good SEO. But if I click on the page analysis, it allows me to look at some other things that I can clear up. So for example, it says the red light here, the keyword doesn't appear in the first paragraph of the copy. Make sure that the topic is clear immediately. And it gives me advice and tells me what I can do better to make sure that this particular page has all green lights. So I can fix all that, and it won't take me too much time. And there's always, ways of trying to figure out how to do these things. My customers will often contact me and say, hey, I've got this warning here, this yellow light or orange light or red light on my WordPress SEO. How do I fix it? And then what I do is I tell them how they can go in and they can fix it. So that's one way of making sure that you're using good SEO, is to use a tool which will allow you to have the basic SEO that you control personally. You need that control, and you need something that's easy to use, and that is, with WordPress, the best way to do it. So good SEO also starts before you have your website. So for example, if you were to do a search for Raleigh Chiropractic, you'll find that RaleighChiropractic.com is the top search result. Well, that's not a big surprise, because part of good SEO is making sure that you're actually using those particular search terms in your website name. So if your company name is Coca-Cola, then you want to use Coca-Cola.com because everybody knows you, and that's what they're going to be searching for. But if your if your company name is Raleigh Chiropractic, that's great. But if it's not, then using a website name like Raleigh Chiropractic is going to be highly advantageous, because it's a natural keyword match. When somebody types Raleigh Chiropractic, of course they're going to get RaleighChiropractic.com. Can you get search results higher than a natural keyword like this, a natural keyword domain like this? Sure you can. You just need to make sure that you have more links to your site, and also all those other factors that we talked about. Make sure that what you do is better than them, and you will get ranked higher. So because part of good SEO is using keywords in the titles, it's also part of using keywords in the URL. And there is a way that you can set your links for your site so that it is set that way. So let me show you an example of that here. For my website here, I have internet marketing as my as part of my URL. So when somebody searches for internet marketing, what they're going to see is they're going to see electronic word of mouth and internet marketing. So internet marketing is one of my keywords, and then part of my keyword is also WordPress hosting. So every piece of this URL is a part of my keyword match. So it's super important that you just make sure that your keyword is a part of the URL. And with WordPress, there are very easy ways to make sure that that happens. You get to design the URL for every page that you use. So how you get the most out of it is that you take advantage of that power to make sure that your keyword is in the title, the domain name, part of the URL, or the title of the post, as well as the part of the entire URL for how somebody can find you on Google. So as long as that keyword is inside that long string of words, you're good to go. So the other thing that you need to do is you need to update your site on a regular basis, at least once a week. That's why having a blog is really the most advantageous thing you can do. You don't have to pay a web designer to, update your page for you. All you have to do is just log in. WordPress is very similar to Microsoft Word. As a matter of fact, there are different programs, like for example Outlook, which will connect to your blog and will allow you to make a blog entry from another program. There's also an iPad program for this. There's also an iPhone program for this. WordPress can be updated. Your blog can be updated from many different other software as long as it's connected properly. So one of the things you want to do whenever you're writing is make sure you avoid unnatural writing. Make sure that it sounds like you're actually writing a blog post, and don't try to stuff your keywords into your blog. Don't overuse your keywords. It'll get you in trouble. Also, don't try to provide more than one keyword on a page. Now, it's fine, totally fine, to have many pages for one keyword, but don't try to do many keywords on one page. So it all boils down to very, very simple principles. There are a lot of people that spend a lot of time doing SEO, and it's easy to pretend that if you're an expert at it, that you can do a lot of things that other people can't. And while that's true, good SEO boils down to Very simple principles. When you're writing a blog post, you're supposed to, write naturally. Don't overuse your keywords, but make sure that you got your bases covered when it comes to SEO. And that's why having a simple SEO tool is really the best thing. It's like having a paid SEO consultant right there with you, showing you exactly what it is that you need to do as you work. So here's a relatively easy way to make sure that you have good SEO on your website. Use the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, why, and how. So who? Are you listed on Google+? If you want good search results with Google, then you're going to need to let Google know who you are. So have a Google+ profile. Make sure that you have a Google+ business page. Make sure that you're listed with Google, because if you're not listed with Google, you can't really expect them to give you the kind of results that you expect from Google. So what is the next question? What is your best keyword? So what is it that you offer? What is it that you want people to know you for? What is it that you would like people to actually find you with? What words do you want them to use? When? Do you update your site on a regular basis? You need to be timely in what it is that you write. So if you write something that is timely, other people are more likely to read it, go to your site, and even share it with other people. Where are you listed on Google Maps? If you have a business that is tied to a location, you need to have your business listed with Google Maps. They have a page that will allow you to set up a business, and everything is just completely tied in together with Google. Very important. Also, when you set up your Google AdWords, all of that stuff can be set up too, so that it's tied into Google Maps. And why do people spend time on your site and link to your site? Well, this means that you're relevant. The answer to the question why is, are you relevant? Why would people want to spend time on your site and link to your site? You need to have something that people want, and that's super important. And also too, I left off the how, and I mentioned how earlier, but how it really has to do with how are people going to find you. If you don't have a website, well, people are not going to be able to find you on the web at all. If you have a website, how are they going to find you? It's going to be based on that keyword that you want people to use to find you. And you can't give them that keyword before they find you. So what you need to do is anticipate what keywords will they use. And there are keyword tools available on Google as well that you can use. So what about good site administration? Earlier I mentioned that there are 3 things. One is links, one is good SEO, and the other one is good site administration. Well, if you are doing this by yourself, you want to make sure that you use Google's tools, like Google's Webmaster Tools. That will allow you to submit your site directly to Google. Use Google Analytics. Make sure that there are no errors that are coming up. And there are also many other tools that Google has to offer. Also, you want to look for and evaluate other tools that might be useful. If you have one that you might find useful, you should try it. Just test it out. See whether or not it helps you or whether or not it's a waste of time. Nobody's going to tell you that certain tools are really good for you because they don't really know if they will be good for you. I've seen plenty of things come and go, even from Google, like Google Wave. Google Wave came and went just like the tide. And you know, it's useless now. They've shut it down. So you need somebody, either yourself or somebody else, actually doing the research for you. And you know, you may not want to spend time on this, and if you don't, then you need to have somebody else doing it for you. You want to maximize page speed. So when somebody goes to visit your web page, you want to make sure that it loads as fast as possible. And there are a lot of tools out there that will help to improve this. And unfortunately, they can be pretty tricky. So you want to have somebody doing it for you if possible. Now, my clients are all covered when it comes to site administration because as somebody who is a WordPress hosting provider, I need to make sure that all these things are covered for my customers. So That is my presentation on how to get ranked higher on Google. You can find me at electronicwordofmouth.com. There's a contact form on every page. And my name is Joseph Dowdy, and I appreciate the time that you took to watch my presentation. Thank you.